Hey everybody, Matthew here, and I want to take this opportunity to share with you guys a beautiful, very simple powder room bathroom that I shot yesterday at a beautiful home in King City. And I blended 4 images. So I took 3 bracketed images at 3 EV apart, and I took 1 flash layer. I'm going to show you how I worked and blended all those 4 images all together to share it with you guys. It's been a while since I've done a YouTube tip, and I want to take this opportunity to show you, again, another bathroom edit on how to do simple blending. So let's get started and I'll show you how I did it. What we're looking at right now are some of the images that I shot yesterday, and they are all natural light except for this one bathroom shot, which you can see that I flashed. Now, one of the things I usually get asked is how do I make my images look like they're so equally balanced or not so flashy. And what I do is I bracket 3 shots at 3 EV apart, and then what I'll do is I'll take a flash shot and I will use my flash shot to blend in with some of the other images. So in this particular case, what we're looking for right now is, as you can see, the light fixtures look like they're blown out. I really don't have any shadows. It looks very flashy. It's a little bit overexposed from the flash. So I can turn the flash down. I'm going to adjust this a little bit to get to where I want. And then when I look at the image, I'm like, it's not bad actually. Again, for real estate, this will do really well. I would crop in, I would do some other things, but I think I want to get a little bit more details back in these light bulbs and these fixtures, and I want to get rid of all this flashy look. So I'm going to take all 4 images, and the other thing is I want to kind of keep that pull window view outside. So I'm going to take all these 3 images. I'm going to edit, open as layers in Photoshop, and we'll just let that open up. Let's go ahead and shut this down. Let's take a look at the next one. Oh, there it is. All right. So we got our 4 bracketed shots and our flash shot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the flash shot on the bottom. That is my bottom layer. I'm going to keep that. That's the one I want to manipulate and change. And we're going to do that starting off with our ambient shot. So this is or I shouldn't say ambient, but this is the overexposed image of the 3 brackets that I have. This one here is basically the middle level, the normal exposure of what it's supposed to be. So I'll show you how I'm going to use these in a second. So let's start off first with our overexposed image here out of the brackets. I'm going to go ahead and change this to luminosity. And you'll notice that kind of the gold and the colors got a little bit flat. Don't worry about that. We're going to make that adjustment in a second. You're going to go back to opacity here, and you're going to bring the opacity down somewhere where you feel that it's pretty level and decent, where it's still not looking flashy. So I think probably around there is good. 60%. Yeah, that should be ideal. Now, like I was saying before, I want to make that light bulb pop a little bit more. I like to see a little bit more of this glow in the orange. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and create a layer here. Sorry, I'm going to create a black layer. And on the black layer, I'm going to zoom in. All right, and I am going to take care of the light bulb first. So you can do it a couple of ways. What I tend to do is I'll get a brush size that's almost kind of the same size as whatever the bulb is. I will then go ahead and flip that over to a white, and I will slowly paint that in. Now, if you want to get really kind of detailed, and if this was a designer shoot, I would probably mask this out completely, but I want to get this close, but I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. So I would get that to about there. Again, just for the sake of the tutorial here, I'm going to show you. All right, so we're going to press X here. We're going to try to get this back out. There we go. And a little bit of that. All right, done. Let's go back to X, and let's do the same thing down here. And then up. Same thing. All right, so that looks good. Let's move over to the other side, and then same thing down. Again, how detailed you want to get, totally up to you. I just want to see a little bit of the light bulbs back, and I don't want it to be too drastic, but I want to see a nice little orange there. All right, let's go back this out. There we go. Let's go and zoom out. Let's see. So that looks good. So the difference from that to that, just a little bit of a difference, but it's enough that brings the light bulbs into play. If I feel that that's still a little bit too intense, I can just go ahead and back that down a little bit here with the opacity control. So I'm going to control that a little bit. Now, one of the things obviously that pop and stand out to me right now is the fact that the fan cover wasn't installed on this. We'll take care of that at the very end. I'll show you one other thing. Now, one thing that I did notice and you want to be careful of, this one actually looks like it did pretty well. It's a little bit off, but what I'm going to do is what I suggest is you always auto align all your layers first. These seem like they're a little bit off, so I'm going to go ahead and just do an auto align a layer. And any little bit of, yeah, there it is. So that's a lot better, and that lines up perfectly. So you want to make sure you do that. You know, little camera movement, sometimes the focus, if you don't have it set right, whatever it is, it will change. So now let's go on to what am I going to do with this window pull. So the window pull is a matter of personal preference. In this case, I'm going to want to paint some of this in. You could do a flash and pop that and then do normal and then just go to lighten mode. There's lots of different ways of doing it. Again, I'm trying to rush through this, so I'm just deciding now. The window pull could be a little bit darker. So I'm just going to go ahead and use the bracket shots that I have. And I'm just going to very closely get, again, without getting too close into the details, we just want a little bit of this window pull to be a little bit more. So go there. Now, I'm going to show you what I do with this white line that goes across, because what happens is when you do a window pull, what ended up happening, or what will end up happening, I should say, will be when I go to paint this in, those black lines, those white lines now go to black, and then obviously it doesn't look realistic and correct. So I'm going to show you how I take care of that. Now, I'm going to change this opacity. I'm going to bring it down. Again, I don't want it to be too strong, but I want it to be noticeable. So now I'm going to go back in here and I'm going to take care of that white line that I was telling you about. So what I do is I get my brush. It's already set to hard. And then as I go through, I just get roughly the same height. And then I will click once here. Sorry, we're going to switch this over to black brush. I think I have to go a little bit more. And I'm going to click once. And then I'm going to go across. And I'm going to go to the end. And I'm going to hit Shift. Now you can see my brush is a little bit too big because I went over into the window. So I'm going to go back. And let's do this again. We'll get a little bit closer here. So I want to keep the brush size relatively the same. And start it there. Go across, press Shift, and there we go. So let's back that out. Let's take a look. A lot better. Good. Okay, we'll do the same thing. Start off over here, go across, press Shift, and there I got my lines back. All right, so that just little detail on getting that little white line back makes a big difference. And then how much of that outside I really want to make stand out or dominate, I can control it myself the way I want. I'm going to go usually around 60, 70, 60, 80%. I don't want it to be too strong. Okay, so once I feel like everything's good here, I'm going to go ahead and flatten this image. And I'm going to take care of that vent that wasn't completed. So sometimes this repair brush that's here will work. Let's just go ahead and take a little, whoops, my bad, wrong brush. The repair brush right there. And you're just gonna go over it lightly and see if it takes care of, okay, so it's not bad. I didn't really have to mask much. So that did the job. Let's back out, definitely. So there's some other things that I see here in terms of, like, obviously the stain. There's some issues with the stain here. That's nothing really that I can do. That's more of the installation side of it. So that's not something I'm going to worry about. But in terms of the actual photo and everything, now I'm going to make some other adjustments. So I'm going to go ahead and press save. All right, so now that we have it back into Lightroom, I'm going to go ahead and make some other adjustments. Now, remember when I was telling you don't worry about that brass faucet changing or fading in color, because what I do is in dehaze, I'm going to increase that dehaze, and that really makes a lot of those colors pop a little bit more. I will then play around with the highlights, play a little bit with the shadows to where I feel that it's fit. I'll go ahead and get a white balance here using this sync, but I think we're pretty much right on the money with where we're at already. So that looks good. Now, to me, the faucets look a little bit over saturated, and you notice if the vibrance, and the saturation is set at 0, that is part of the luminosity. So I'll come down over here and I'll change this orange, and I'll bring that orange down a little bit, but I'll bring the yellows up. And I find that it just changes the tone. It doesn't make it, because this is like obviously too much. But changing this and flipping it around to me looks more of what I saw when I was there. All right, so that's done. Now I'm going to go down here and we're going to go to auto alignment. That did a pretty good job. And the last thing I need to do here is I need to fix the distortion on the lens. So we're going to go ahead and back that until we get a nice straight line. That looks good. We're going to constraining crop. And now we're going to go ahead and reduce and bring this down to where I feel it's relevant. So I'm just going to bring that up a little bit. I don't need to see the door frame per se. I see a little bit of that. I'm going to crop that. And that's it, guys. That is how simple it is to use your bracket layers that you have. I'm going to just make one final little adjustment there. It looks pretty good. And yeah, so that's done. White balance is done. You can see that it stands out. The brass looks really good. The light bulbs and the fixtures look pretty good. And we're done. So that one here is going to go into savings, and that's pretty much how I blend 3 images using 1 flash and 3 bracketed shots spread at 3 EV apart. Hope that helps, guys. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to DM me and leave your comments down below. Hope to be doing more of these through these next few months and get back on track and doing some editing. All right, guys, take care. All the best.